Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. So basically, from your history of graphing parabolas, they've mostly been with quadratic equations or quadratic functions where our parabola either opened up or opened down. And the two different types of equations that we dealt with was a standard form, which is ax squared plus bx plus c, or vertex form, which is a times x minus h squared plus k. Now, these are very, very helpful. And you should know at least how to graph both of these. And mostly, the helpful thing was, here finding your axis of symmetry, and then using the axis of symmetry with the table of values. Here you can use your vertex, and then again using the axis of symmetry to help you determine the values. But when we're using the definition of a parabola in terms of its focus, or the definition of focus and directrix, these don't take into account our focus and the directrix. So we need to make sure we have another equation. Now, again, these two equations are when our axis of symmetry was vertical. Again, it didn't matter if the parabola opened up or if the parabola opened down. We always had a vertical axis of symmetry. So when I'm looking for the equation of a parabola using the definition for conic sections, I'm going to use x minus h squared equals 4p times y minus k. That is going to be when my axis of symmetry is vertical, where my vertex, just like from the vertex form, was h comma k, and p equaled the distance from the vertex to the focus. And remember, if that distance was positive, then my graph opens up. If that distance is negative, then my graph opens down. The next thing is, well, what about then if we have an axis of symmetry where it's horizontal? Now, that could be both of these two equations, and you just swap the x and the y. But in this case, when we're looking at the definition of conic sections, it's still very similar. You are swapping the x and the y, but you also got to make sure you take into account the h and the k's. So here we'd have y minus k squared equals 4p times x minus h, where, ladies and gentlemen, you can see again in this case, it's the exact same thing, and the vertex is still hk, and p, the distance from your vertex to your focus, is still going to be p as well. So just note that this is only going to be when we have parabolas that have the axis going to be horizontal. So if p is positive, it opens up to the right, and if p is negative, then it's going to open up to the left. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Those are your two equations that we'll be using for conic sections of parabolas. Thanks.